Kid and the Knights of the Round Table.
Give points.
Beer guy.
And on the phone with us this evening is Eric from the band Runaway Ricochet from Minnesota. They are having a record release and beating the street to go on tour, and you will be able to see them in Milwaukee on the 14th and in Madison on the 31st. So hello, Eric. Welcome.
Hello, it's great to be here.
So let's do some backstory. First, Runaway Ricochet is a ska band from Minnesota. How long have you been a band, and how did you come to be?
All right, this will bring me back to the good old days of 2015, back when I was still in school, and I heard of a crazy band called Less Than Jake, and they slipped ska music in all of the games of my childhood, so I've been listening to it all my life, but I'd never realized it. And when I did realize it, I thought, this is what I want to do. So I got some of my friends together and started showing them some songs that I was writing, but none of them were too enthusiastic, so I mostly just played on my own until I met the group that I'm currently with in college. And we were going to school in St. Paul at a little place called McNally Smith College of Music. And then that school closed down in December, so now we just thought, hey, let's try and make the best of it and make a record and go on tour and see if we can just do it.
So you're talking like December of 17, the college you went to closed?
Yeah, it was 6 days before the end of the semester. We all get an email, says, hey, school's run out of funding, so pack your bags and get out, is basically what it said.
Wow. So what the fuck? So had you guys already paid tuition for the next semester? Were you reimbursed? This sounds like a whole clusterfuck of ridiculous.
Yeah. It was the craziest week of my life. Besides recording the record, that was a whole nother bucket of just not sleeping a lot and working all the time. But when the school closed, some people had prepaid tuition for the next semester. Luckily, no one in the band had. But there were smaller stuff like the money on our meal plan. We did not get reimbursed for that. We didn't get our security deposits from the apartment that we were renting to the school. It was a whole ordeal, but luckily we've all ended up on top for the most part. And I think it's given us a lot of inspiration for writing. You know, the more you live, the more you have to write about.
That's very, very true. So before we started the interview, I had asked where it was that you are from more specifically, and you kind of said that the bandmates are around the city. So give the listeners and viewers some background demographics as to where it is that you are from and how many folks are in your band.
So right now, at the moment, we have 5 lovely folks in the band. Me and the trombone player are both from a place called Rogers, Minnesota. It's about 30 minutes out from Minneapolis. The guitar player and trumpet player live in Forest Lake, Minnesota, which is about 25 minutes north of St. Paul. And our drummer lives in Woodbury, Minnesota, which is about 15 minutes east of St. Paul. So we all live in a little triangle that's about an hour away from everyone's house in each direction. Makes practicing a little difficult, but we make it work.
What's your question, your guy?
What does he play?
What do you play? Are you just vocals?
Oh, I play bass and I sing.
Gotcha.
And I songwrite.
We had, what's the
That's
question?
kind of an instrument.
It's Chrissy.
Okay. So you guys have been a band in its form now, if I followed correctly, 2 years then? 3?
Yeah, we've been doing full band stuff for only about since September of 2017, but I started playing acoustically and I had a trumpet player and a percussion player, and then once I met the folks in college, we started doing a full band gig.
Because I had received an email from somebody, his name is Keith, asking about what we do and whatever, and then shortly after that I had seen your band start popping up as a network to other bands that we had been working with. And Space Monkey Mafia, who is another Minnesota ska band, was kind of linked with you guys as well. So how did you come to find out about who we are and be doing this interview tonight?
So I think one thing that's great about ska music is that it's such a tight-knit community, and everyone really knows everyone. Fans are really loyal in this music. You know, you look at pop music, you look at a lot of indie music, and there's just so much saturation in the genre, whereas ska, I think there's just enough ska bands. I mean, I always think there could be more, but there's enough everywhere where everyone kind of knows everyone. And so when we look around and see who would be some great bands to play with, what would be some good opportunities for the band, we come across the local bands like Space Monkey Mafia, and another close one is the Wicked Bees. And then we looked out to Wisconsin and thought, what are some great opportunities for ska? And we came across your show. I don't know if you know this or not, but you pop out quite a bit in the ska community. So we thought, hey, it'd be great to set up an interview, and here we are now.
Well, thank you. That confirms that my fucking bullshit that I'm doing is justified and good, because oftentimes I will send stuff. I do everything off of my phone for the majority of what it is that I do. And so, you know, when you're doing stuff on Facebook mobile, or you're trying to send an email and it says didn't send or can't send invites, you're like, well, I don't even know if my fucking shit is going to anywhere. So thanks, man. That confirms that works.
Yeah.
My question, who the hell is Keith? Because you guys have really, I would say, since inception of what Runaway Ricochet has been a band less than a year, and you've hit the ground running. You have an album, you have a tour, and you went from I don't know what this ska band is to I know what this ska band is. So who is Keith in relation to you guys, and how do you come to be doing all of this in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, so Keith is actually my dad. He was big in the music industry back in his day, and now he's kind of helping me out, showing me the ropes, and turns out a lot of the techniques back in the day still apply to the music industry. So he's really, while I'm out working or we're out learning new songs, he helps us, he books gigs, you know, gets our name out there. So he does a lot more of the online presence stuff, and we try and do a lot more of the songwriting and the musician side of things.
So he, I would have to say, as far as communicating with him via the interwebs, is really good. A shout out to your dad for promoting you.
Shout out to Keith.
Shout out to Keith.
Cheers to
Great
Keith.
one for him. You said he used to be involved in the music industry. Was he?
Yeah, he was. Sorry, what?
I was gonna ask. Was he in a band, or what kind of aspect was he affiliated with that he was able to promote you so well?
He was a jazz tenor saxophone player from Detroit. He went pretty professional with it, and then he also played in a country band that made it pretty big. They were called Clinton River East, I believe. And those two avenues kind of gave him a lot of the experience that he has today.
Wow. So for us, we have like the tagline that music is life. For you, it really has been something that I would say is throughout your whole family. So now that you have this opportunity, what is your goal with your band? Number one, I'm going to ask a few questions here. Number two, you know, you have this album coming out. Are you going to be using a distributor? And number three, do all of the bandmates' goals align with what your goal for this band is? Do I have to?
All right, we'll start with question one.
You should be taking notation. Just kidding.
Nope.
Yeah. So question one, what's my goal with music? I'd say the biggest thing that I like about music and playing music is the change that it can have in other people's lives. I know a lot of people will listen to music to change their mood, maybe give them a little boost. It's great for setting atmospheres for parties or events. there's just so much that music is used for in the world. And as a kid, a lot of people tell you should never be in a band. It's a terrible lifestyle. You'll never make it. But I think that so many people give up when they're young that it's as long as you put in the work, you can easily make it. And I'd love to make that difference in people's lives.
Good.
So for question 2, which was, sorry, could you refresh me?
The album question. So now that you have made this album, what is the goal with that? Will you be using a distributor to push it out?
Right. So we thought about shopping the album a little bit. Now that after we had it recorded, thought, okay, maybe we'll send it out to some people, see if they want to put it on the label strictly for distribution. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of respect for, the do-it-yourself attitude. And with music distributors such as TuneCore and CD Baby and all that, I think it's really easy to get your music out there. All you need to do is have a voice, As long as you shout loud enough, someone's going to hear it. So right now we're just using CD Baby to get our music online and where everyone can listen to it, and we're getting physical CDs to sell at shows. Hopefully people buy that CD and show it to their friends. Word of mouth is always a good act of publicity, but we're keeping it pretty DIY with this release. Maybe we'll look at something bigger next time around. And then, should I keep trucking through, go on to question 3?
Sure. I'll wait and do my soapbox after question 3 because it will be important for you. And I hope that your dad also learned something. So anyways, number 3 was, do the bandmates have the same goals as you in as far as the direction that they want the band to go in? Don't laugh at me. Be quiet, boys.
Yeah, so I'd say we all have been musicians for a while and want to be musicians, but I'm really the only one that loves ska music. A lot of these people probably never dreamed when they picked up their guitar or learned how to play drums, like, man, I want to be in a ska band when I grow up. And then I came along and said, hey, do you want to be in a ska band? And they said, wouldn't be so bad. And now they're kind of saying, it's really not so bad. It's actually a lot of fun. And we got 5 members total in the band, trombone, trumpet, guitar, bass, and drums, as I mentioned earlier. And so I think everyone's goals to be a professional musician or to somehow make a living off of music is similar. But as far as how they want to do it, I think that differs a little bit. Some people are more into the indie rock stuff. Some people are more into the classic rock. And I think that you can put elements of all of that into the music we make. And it's really important not to pigeonhole yourself into one category. It's great for marketing. So someone asks, what do you play? Oh, we play ska music. But then they listen to it and they're like, that doesn't sound like the Mighty Mighty Bosstones. It's a little different. Unfortunately, people's lives do take over sometimes, so we're actually losing our trombone player. He's going off to school, and we got another guy lined up who's excited to finish the tour with us, but people come and they go. So hopefully, I think that Runaway Ricochet will exist in some sense, but people might come and go as time goes on.
Just like your name, it's like a metaphor for your horn section.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness. Anyways, before we continue, because I have other questions now that have stemmed and popped up in my brain because of the things you have said. But I want, because I've done it with every band, you said you use the CD Baby thing to distribute your music and you're doing it DIY. I challenge this because you're not doing it DIY. You're paid somebody to put your stuff on a platform instead of sending it directly to people and maintaining your full right. Now, I've read, researched, went online, and talked to a whole bunch of bands about distributors, and it is an easy way to go because it markets you well, and it does promote and get your music out there, so no fault in that. However, where I find fault and what I want to impart to everybody that I work with is that you can do this yourself if you put forth the effort to push it. You have to be your own whore. Those distributors that you pay take a percentage of your money every play that you get. So though you might be heard, they make a lot of money off of your back. And if you ever chose at any time to say, please, I'm done with you and your contract, they still own the rights for that one contract for your music. So even if you've released only one album, but then wanted to do it the rest of your time by yourself, every other album after, CD Baby still is going to own that first record that you had. So they will still get money even if you say don't play me anymore, because they will still play you and they will get the hit instead of you getting the hit. Now, I've talked to several bands who initially had decided, hey, we're going to do distribution because it does help with marketing, but then they found out that they were getting raped by doing so and did it themselves. And by doing this, because they put it on YouTube, because they put it on SoundCloud, they put it on Bandcamp, they put it on Spotify, they put it on iTunes, you already do that a majority of the time by yourself without having to pay someone so your stuff can be heard. So put in a little bit of work and push yourself. I just want to impart that on people because I want the music industry to take itself back. I want musicians to receive full royalties for what it is that they are out there producing. CD Baby didn't make your album, you did. They didn't spend hours in the studio painstakingly staying up, drinking coffee, mixing something until it sounded just the way they wanted it. They're using you.
Can I get an amen?
Sorry, Eric. I had to do that.
No, absolutely.
So now back to the
thanks for
interview.
enlightening us.
Back to your dad's probably going to be like, oh my God. Anyway, so the question that popped up as you were talking about the direction of the other bandmates and that, no one else thought that they'd grow up to be in a ska band. Does this make you a better band because they aren't as tied into the ska music as you are? Does this allow you to have more creativity and push your music in a different direction because they come from different backgrounds?
Yeah, I think it's great. There's, it's kind of like the country we live in and how it started. It's a big melting pot of a bunch of different things. And even though it's it's in a spot right now, I think the overall concept is music. If you mix a bunch of things together, you can still get a really great product that is different than a lot of other things out there. And so you pour in a little classic rock, you pour in a little bit of that indie flair, whatever everyone's into. I even feel like there's some parts in this album with the horns where I'm like, man, that sounds like a jazz band. That doesn't sound like a ska band. I think it really brings another element to the music. It brings more life. Because if every ska band sounded the same, I think there's only so much of us who would really enjoy that. And I know I would love it, but I think that you gotta stay relevant to stay in the game.
So we had interviewed Flip in the Combined Effort, and when we had asked them where they felt they fit in to the genre, they said ska adjacent. Now listening to you, I would also have to argue that that's where, instead of like a third or fourth wave, you would fit into, because there is so many other influences within your ska sound. How do you categorize yourself for marketing purposes as a ska band? Like, do you identify or tag yourself as ska punk, or how do you classify yourself? Where do you fit in the genre of ska?
I think that ska punk, for one, has such a broad term. You look at a band like Streetlight Manifesto, who doesn't necessarily classify themselves as ska punk. In fact, I've heard that they don't
hate
like
that.
the term ska being associated with their music.
Yes, they hate
I
that.
love it.
But I think that a lot of the population lumps them in with the ska punk category. And then you look at a band like, No Doubt, who's been quoted as being one of the bringers of the third wave with their album Tragic Kingdom, which I love, listen in my car all the time, have the physical CD. Sadly not on vinyl, but I'd say that we fit in kind of more. I want to bring more of I don't know how to phrase it, but more bands like the indie rock thing that's really happening right now. I feel like that's what's really being played on the radio. I think adding an element of that to our music is really great. The first album that I did is a lot more within the ska punk realm, but with this next release, I'm really hoping we push more into like a sort of indie ska. The only indie ska band I've ever seen being quoted as that genre is MU330. And so I think that'd be a really cool genre to expand upon and kind of explore the possibilities.
Well, you have taught me something because I've hung out with Dan and have never heard MU330 called indie ska. What categorizes a ska band as indie ska?
I'm really not sure with the whole MU330 thing. I've talked to Dan too. He's a great dude. Love what he does. Dan P and the Bricks. Their new album rocks. But I think with our album, the indie elements that I would lump it in with is possibly some interesting chord choices. You're not sticking to the straight form. I'm not sure. I don't want to get too music theory nerdy on you, but
I challenge you, my friend. Go on.
the pop progression of 1 6 4 5, it's been played to death. There's a lot of simple stuff, so I like to throw in some interesting substitutes. It's probably going to sound like gibberish, so I won't go on too much. But
why? The whole point is to educate.
Adding some elements where. Sorry, what's that?
I said the whole point of this show is to educate people. Go on, my friend. Don't ever worry about feeling nerdy.
And we're all musicians.
All right, yeah. So sometimes with our single Young Adults that we released, I think if I had to try and count the different amount of chords, so many songs fall in this 4-chord category. I think that song, if I tried to count them all, would probably be somewhere around 13 different chords, 12 or 13. Substitute the 3, instead you have the flat 3, but it's a major 7 chord, flat 6, major 7. You're borrowing them from the relative minor, music gibberish, that sort of thing. And so adding those interesting transition chords gives us a unique sound, I would say, going into the realm of diminished chords and half diminished, which is really just playing with the 7th scale degree. And then a lot of calmer guitar parts that aren't necessarily punk, but aren't the strict upbeats of ska. It's just more mellower guitar. There's the 4th track on the album, Windows, is kind of more laid back like that. I think that's the best way I could describe it. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does, and it leads me to another one. This goes very well. Good job, Eric. You've been flowing very nicely. Listening to you speak, it sounds as if you would kind of be the band dad. You are the leader and writer of this band. What are the dynamics in your band? Is that a true statement to make that Eric leads and writes the music and the rest of these people play it? Or is this a collaboration that allows for an amalgamation of, artistic thought?
Yeah, so I think that I would definitely classify myself as the dad of the band. Our trumpet player, Caleb, we a lot of times call him a dad just because the way he acts can sometimes make him seem like a dad. But when we were out recording the album, I'd be the one to wake everyone up and make sure they're eating enough food. And I don't know, maybe I'm more like the mom of the band then in that case.
Don't say that.
But as far as the writing goes, a lot of the songs for this particular album, the album being talked about being gas station culture, I wrote them on my acoustic guitar. I always write lyrics first. I'm a very, very lyrically driven person. a lot of the band that I take the most inspiration from, I'd say with my lyrics, is Bumpin' Uglies.
Okay.
Love those guys.
I do as well.
And so I focus on my lyrics and figure out some chords that kind of go along, get a melody worked in there, and then I'll present the idea to the band, and they'll say, ooh, we like this, or ooh, we don't like that. There's some key elements in the album that wouldn't have happened without the band saying, ooh, what if we did this instead of this? So I think I bring a core song that has, you know, verse, chorus, maybe a bridge, and then an outro, intro, that deal. But then they come in and they finesse it. They make sure that it all works together. I'm not going too crazy with some of the stuff that I'm throwing in. Sometimes they'll be like, Eric, it just sounds like I'm making a mistake. Why are you having me play these notes?
Oh, no. So because you're losing your trombone player, is there any works? Are you going to, like, bring in another horn player? And why not saxophone in your band?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we have another trombone player lined up. He's getting the music down, and so unfortunately when our dearly loved trombone player Christian goes away to college, he'll be ready to step up and take the plate. So we won't have any shows missing a horn player. And as far as saxophone, I think that's just a limitation of who I know locally in the music scene. I'd love to have a saxophone player in the band. I actually play saxophone, and so we put saxophone on the albums because I feel like it adds a lot to the music. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, live, we're just not at a point yet where we can have 3 horn players. It's they're kind of a hot commodity in the Twin Cities.
So that kind of leads me to my next question. I feel like that's the theme tonight. The lead-in. This is my intro for the outro. So around the Twin Cities, and you had listed a few other bands about how, you had come to hear about us. What is the Minnesota ska community like? And do you work in collaboration within your local scene? Who do you play with most often? Because my first introduction to any Minneapolis ska band was Umbrella Bed. Umbrella Bed. I fuck their name up every time I say it. They would play Scapleton every year, and they kind of were sister bands, I would say, with the Invaders from Milwaukee. So tell us about your scene, and if there are any bands you work in collaboration with.
Yeah. So the first band, I think the first local ska band I ever heard of was the first time I saw Real Big Fish when they came here. I forget what year it was, but there was a band called 3 Minute Hero that opened for them.
Yes, I've seen them too.
Heard their music, and I thought, man, there's local ska. I did not know this, and I was a little younger at the time, so I wasn't too versed in the local music scene. We actually just played a show with Umbrella Bed at a club. It was us, Umbrella Bed, and Space Monkey Mafia. As you mentioned, you know those guys, or have heard of them. The band that we're going on tour with is called The Wicked Bees. They're helping us out. We're actually opening up for them on a few dates, and we played with them a lot. They're from Fargo, so not technically Minnesota, but, we love to play with them anyway. And then there are a few other bands. There's a Specials tribute band. They're called Blank Expressions, I believe. I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. And then there's...
It'll only hurt your career.
Who's the other one? There's... Sorry, what was that?
Go. You said...
I'm getting kind of a spotty connection, sorry.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Wake him up. He's snoring. You said Blank Expressions.
Yeah, they're a Specials cover band. They're like a tribute band.
And they're from Fargo.
No, they're from Minnesota.
Okay.
The band from Fargo is the Wicked Bees.
Gotcha.
They were formerly known as the Ska Skank Redemption. They changed their name a few years ago.
Wait, time out. What? The Ska Shank Redemption?
No, I think they changed their name due to confusion. Because there's the Ska Shank Redemption,
right, from
and they were
Ohio.
called the Ska Skank Redemption.
Ah, yes, that would be confusing.
So thus the name change to the Wicked Bees.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're going on tour for your CD release. So talk about your tour. Where is it going to take you? And the CD release. Talk about when that's going to happen.
Yeah, so this Friday we're playing in Grand Forks, North Dakota, starting it off with the Wicked Bees, and then on August 11th we're taking it back to Minnesota, playing a house show. It's at a place called the Sinkhole. It's a great venue full of lots of kids and lots of energy. Then August 14th, as you know, we're going to Milwaukee, playing at KOTRT.
With Dorothy's Worst.
What was that?
I said with Dorothy's Worst. And who else?
Yeah, with right now, I think Dorothy's Worst is the only confirmed band. We're still working with more local bands.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to Wausau, Wisconsin, at the Malarkey's Pub. That's another date with the Wicked Bees. And from there, we're following them on August 16th to La Crosse at the Root Note. Then we'll be going all the way back through Minnesota to Fargo, playing the aquarium with the Wicked Bees and the Stovepipes. We're really looking forward to that date. And then we're playing a local music festival in Minneapolis called La Grande Fest.
Ooh.
And this is its second official year. It started as a backyard party, and now it's a whole music festival. So we're really looking forward to that. We're playing the main stage. And from there, we're taking a little break. August 25th, we're playing the Minnesota State Fair. I'm not sure if you've ever been, but it's kind of a big deal for the locals.
It's a giant event. I've never been, but I do know the significance of how huge that thing is.
Yeah, so unfortunately we're not playing the grandstand, but we are playing the TPT stage, the public television, and that's on one of the main drags, so we're still super excited for that show.
That's awesome.
And then after that, we're going out to Madison on the 31st, playing the Wisco.
Yes.
I know we're playing with Courtesy of Tim. We're super excited to play with those guys. Really love what they're doing. And then we're coming back to Minneapolis on September 8th with the Acadia. And then we're going on September 15th to Chicago, playing Logan's Bar. So we're kind of starting off strong and then going to more sporadic dates. But hopefully September will just keep piling up with dates. And, you know, we love playing music, and hopefully people love listening to it.
So if I were to draw that on a map, my friend, you are zigzagging and going all over the place. How did you come up with this tour?
Yeah, it started, we sent out an email to the Wicked Bees, said, hey, we're planning a tour around this time frame, and we thought, like, we could get a show in Fargo with them, and we said, hey, do you have anything going on around that time? And they came back to us and said, yeah, actually, we're going on tour at the same time. Here are the dates we have open that we're looking for groups to play with. And so we jumped on the ones that we could, and then everything else, we're just shooting out to places. Unfortunately, when you're just starting out, this is our first official tour that we're really going extended days out of state. Mm-hmm. We just take the gigs that we can get. So we are zigzagging a little bit, but luckily none of them are too out of the way. It's not like a whole cross country where we're driving a whole day in the wrong direction. So I think it'll be all right at the end of the day.
So who are you playing with in Chicago?
Right now, we don't have any confirmations. We're still trying to work out all the details with the band, so don't want to announce anything quite yet.
Well, when you pass on through, if you can accurately plan your trip, we are on the way to Chicago, so you could do a show here before hitting there, if that works.
Yeah, we'll try and work something out. I'll definitely bring it up with the guys. As I said, I'd love to be there in person. Too bad it didn't work out this time, but we'll definitely make it out there.
I mean, I think that these are as beneficial. I love the face-to-face because I love getting to meet people, and inviting you into the coziness of our home to play our basement allows me a selfish opportunity to have a private concert for the world to see, which I love. I love that I get to meet people and connect others to the world. But these are as important because these interviews, go on to SoundCloud and onto iTunes, or what is it? iHeartRadio. TuneIn Radio app. There you go. There's too many goddamn platforms. And so those things are beneficial too because we're helping just like CD Baby at no cost to you.
Free.
Hey. Yeah.
So I have to ask, how the hell did you get your name, Runaway Ricochet?
It's a really big question. You've probably been waiting all night to ask it, and I'm going to come back with a really subpar response. I was just walking home from school one day, crossing the street, and I thought, Runaway Ricochet. Yeah, I could live with that. Really don't know where I came up with it. We had a few names before. We were spitting around Rocket Surgery, but there was a band in Chicago with that name already taken. And I think there was one more in between, but I don't really remember it. So eventually we settled on Runaway Ricochet, and that's what it's been, and that's what it'll be until the end of time, for better or for worse.
So this new album that you have is going to be released when, and where can people find it?
It'll be released, not sure when people are listening to this, but Saturday, August 11th. For us, it's this next Saturday. If you're tuning in a little late, it might have already happened. You can go listen to it right now. And if that is the case for you, you can listen to it on Spotify.
Done.
You can listen to it on Spotify, iTunes. We'll have it up on SoundCloud, Bandcamp. I don't know if people still use Slacker or no, it's Napster. That's what it's called.
Oh, we were just talking about that the other day.
It's still a thing.
We were like, "Is that a thing?"
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be up on Napster. I might have to check it out myself.
This is not a music.
Just to feel like 13 again, stealing your own goddamn music.
Yeah. But it'll be out pretty much everywhere where people listen to music. I think the real big ones these days are Apple Music, SoundCloud, and Spotify. There's a few other ones that I've heard like one or two people use, but we'll be on all the juggernauts, and then a lot of the next ones, iHeartRadio, if anyone uses that. I hope Pandora, they have kind of a weird process. You have to get accepted, but, we're trying to make it as easy as possible to listen to us.
Okay, first, I don't even know if it's mentioned, it was mentioned one time, but, for those just tuning in or catching it now, the name of your new album is?
Gas Station Culture.
And how long did it take you to record this?
So due to everyone's limited schedule and a limited amount of resources, we knew of a studio in Detroit. The guy who manages it, his name's Kevin Holliver. He's a great dude. And the studio is Underground Productions. So we made the road trip out to Detroit. A bit of a drive, but we got there, set up, and I think from set up to tear down, it was almost exactly 7 days. We set up at around 7 p.m. on a Sunday night, and then we were done mixing the album, mixing and mastering by around 8:30 the following Sunday. And between those two dates, we put in approximately 90 hours in the studio.
Wow. That's nuts.
So it's like a full-time job's 40 hours a week, right?
Right.
So we did double that and a little bit more, but we didn't work a single day, so.
That's not true. Why are you devaluing this? What the fuck, man? You did work.
Oh no, I'm just saying, it's not it's not the 9-to-5 corporate grind that so many people experience. This is the type of stuff that we love to do for fun, and while we are working our butts off, it's fun to us. That's the dream.
That is the dream. That means that you're achieving more than the Joe Schmo who goes to their 9-to-5 every day. And by putting in those 90 hours, you are hopefully moving forward to continuing that dream and making it a reality. So I'm going to continue to challenge people to follow their dreams, since I'm a career counselor and all. You gotta do those. I know, right? I can tie in everything into any argument I ever make. Anyways.
Comes full circle.
Oh my God, that's Mike's thing. Yeah, good job. So I know that the questions that these guys normally ask are, how old were you when you first picked up your instrument?
And what was it?
And what was it?
I think, picked up and played are two totally different questions you're asking there. Since both my parents were musicians, I probably picked up one of their instruments when I was 1 or 2, but I don't remember that.
It's like a tin grab instead of loving
so
When you actually wanted to.
Yeah. The first time I played an instrument, I think I started piano lessons when I was 7. My parents were super big on that. Eventually, I became an angsty teenager and said I didn't want to do it anymore, which I regret very much. I wish I still knew how to play piano. But I've picked up a few instruments since then, so I never quit music entirely. I just moved on to saxophone, and then I think I picked up bass guitar when I was 14. But that was only because I really wanted to sing in a band and I couldn't find a bass player. So I thought, how hard can it be?
Which instrument has been the hardest?
So each of them have their own difficulties. I think out of all the instruments that I've played, I'm probably the worst at drum set, even though I've put an equal amount of time into it. So being a drummer is really difficult. But I really challenged myself in this next album, singing and playing at the same time. With guitar, it's a lot of the time you're playing fairly steady rhythms, unless you're doing a lot of lead lines. But with bass, locking down the groove and then also trying to sing melodies over that has been kind of challenging. So I'd say the two together provide the biggest challenge, but otherwise I could definitely do to improve my drumming.
So people can grab your album August 11th. What about merchandise, my friend?
Yeah, we've been working on that. We have t-shirts, we have stickers, we're working on getting beanies for the winter. We have a website, just www.runawayricochet.com. We have a store on there where you can buy everything that we have up for sale at shows. But right now we got the CD, we have tie-dye t-shirts, we have not tie-dyed t-shirts, and we have stickers. And soon to be adding more t-shirts, hats. The goal for the band is eventually we want to have flannel t-shirts for sale.
Oh my fucking God! Yes, please! That would be awesome. Nope.
Yeah, that'll be down the road, but we're really hoping to get there.
So, because we've almost reached the top of our hour, I'm going to give you the opportunity to whore yourself real quick. For those people who are listening and who are now very much intrigued in not only your merch and website and your album, where can people find you online? And because I think it does bear repeating, make sure, Runaway Ricochet is spelled...
Ricochet is the one that people always have a hard time with. So, Runaway, Runaway, and then Ricochet, Ricochet. The way I remember it is Runaway Ricochet.
Ricochet.
Yeah, it's a wacky word.
R-I-C-O-T.
That's great. That's how I would sound it out.
Good. Still spelled that wrong.
Yes.
God damn it! I can voice text things well enough to get by. Just kidding. But where can people find you online besides your website?
So we got Facebook, we got Instagram, we have a Twitter, although no one really, I feel like Twitter isn't the place people go for band information. But those are the big three. We don't do Snapchat. I think we have a Reddit, but I haven't been on there for a while. I should probably get better at that. It just was so weird the other day going on Facebook and thinking, man, I'm on this site to like push my career forward. This feels wrong. But that's where people go for information.
Yep. I mean, just like little bios and to check in, because there is a want, I think, to connect with the personality of a band. For so long, I think people have been pushed an image of all sorts of music, and there's been a lot of the band, the image, not really the people. You don't really get to know that unless they're a drug addict or a horrible alcoholic, or their career took off.
You just see the whole thing.
Then they talk about the individual people. So like I have somebody who, Phantom of the Ska Kid, he helps me with all of my marketing and construction of social media. He's like, you should do a blog. People like listening to you. They want to know your personality. So I encourage you to keep doing that. Wow.
All right, yeah. I think a blog is definitely something I could get behind in the future, maybe starting. I definitely need to be better about posting, though.
So, my friend, in closing, you have your new album coming out August 11th. People can catch you at runawayricochet.com, correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Facebook,
you did.
Instagram, Twitter. And you will be in Wisconsin on tour, where you can be seen and met in person August 14th at Quarters with Dorothy's Worst, who you can catch on this show in October. And August 31st at the Wisco in Madison with courtesy of Tim. So, I think I covered everything. Did we cover everything?
And maybe here.
Buy their t-shirts so that they can have more money so we can get a flannel.
Yeah, exactly. That's the dream.
So, Eric, I thank you very much, and we will leave you this evening and hope to meet you someday in the future, my friend. Your dad...
Yeah, absolutely.
Sent us 5...
Thank you so much for having me.
He sent us 5 songs off your new album, so we are going to play those after a short break and a couple of announcements. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
You too, Kay?
Thanks.
Bye.